True life. I hate poetry. I have always hated poetry. Learning about haikus, limericks, and Shakespearean monologues was never really interesting to me, at all. I could never find a poem or poet that spoke to my soul, that I could relate to even on the surface. But honestly, I never cared enough to try. I had always thought that picking up a book of poems would just instantly kill me. I would sit in class and think, wow, somewhere, someone is enjoying this? How? It's so dull and uninteresting. How can anybody possibly enjoy this? That is until I discovered an interesting poet, E. E. Cummings, and his very weird poem, L.A. Look at this mess of words, I thought. This is poetry? How could this have possibly any meaning at all? La, li, af, f, l, s, one, Linus? This just looked like a poet published one of his drunken works because he knew people would buy it because of his name. Things like this. Poems like this are one of the many reasons I hated poetry. I started to turn the poem to the left, to the right, even tried the poem upside down to see if the poem would eventually speak to me, but it didn't. I wanted to throw my book into the garbage where I have thrown so many other poems where they all belong. But I told myself, you can do this. This poem is simple, it can't be that hard. I searched for the meaning within the poem, rereading it out loud, reciting it in my head, yelling it in my room, to the point where it sounded as I was speaking a language unknown to man. Until finally, I saw it. Yes, it was a very stupid poem, but also an ingenious puzzle. If I spread out the letters, I could solve the mystery. After all this work and all this time, I figured out that the words outside the parenthesis spelt out loneliness, and the words inside the parenthesis spell out a leaf falls. So was the poem Loneliness, a leaf falls? Or was the poem A leaf falls, loneliness? The poem, so complex, but the message was so simple. I was finally halfway to fully understanding what the poet was talking about, because he couldn't just be talking about a single leaf falling from a tree, right? Who cares about a leaf? Were we all like the leaf in a way? Was he trying to say when we're born and when we die, we leave and come into this world alone? Or could this just be another poem in the huge death genre? Or could this poem be one of those that hits from the left field and is about loving a corpse that you have kept locked up in a secret room of your house? Who knows? I most likely didn't even scratch the surface about what this poem is about. But looking for a deeper meaning, I'm satisfied with what I have unearthed myself. Now, don't get me wrong. I still hate poetry. But maybe now I have found what I need to actually somewhat enjoy it. Those Shakespearean monologues never spoke to me because they weren't creative. Maybe if the words were just thrown across the page, I would have cared more about them. Probably not. But at least for a few days, I can say that something in poetry actually sparked my interest for once.